doesn't wanna turn into some machine. It takes a woman like you to get through to the man in me. I said it takes a woman like your kind to find the man in me.
The man in me, from the man who's done it all. The man, pardon the pun, who's been dubbed as Britain's most successful and innovative reggae producer. Oh, he's saying, oh, Miss P, are you talking about me? Wow. Yes, I am. I'm talking about the legendary Dennis Bovell, who's my special guest this afternoon on the Sunday Best. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon.
How are you, first of all?
Well, I'm well.
Looking well.
I'm feeling well too.
Good. Man in Me, now that is a track that is never going to be able to escape. You're not going to be able to escape from that track. We think of Dennis Bovell and we think of classic UK lovers rock. Well,
in the time when we were struggling to identify as reggae players from this part of the world, where people were saying that reggae could not be made in London, all right, or could not be made outside of Jamaica, and we were desperately trying to prove them wrong. And me, with my sound system and with my band Matumbi, we tried to, you know, create something that would be our very own, and we didn't care if it was not the same as the Jamaican reggae, but as long as it was as good as or better, or, you know, people were appreciating it. So we set out to, first of all, disguise the name on the record label of, you know, whoever the artist was, because first of all, they'd see the record come out and it'd have that little small hole in the middle, and they'd go, English record, you know, and they wouldn't want to buy it. So we bought a dinking machine, and we stamped the middle out. Right. In fact, on This Man in Me, we put that out on the Matumbi label, and we went and bought a dinking machine, and we knocked them a big hole in the middle to make it look like some kind of outside of England release, you know, some kind of Jamaican release or American release, but not a local release.
So you went through great lengths to hide the fact that this music was being made here in England, and to sort of palm it off as
well. Not hide it. I think we tried to take that obstacle out of its way, right? Because I mean, it was holding back people's minds about the music if you were listening to it with a prejudiced view, instead of just listening to it.
And saying this is a nice record, or a lovely track. They're saying, oh yeah, but it's made in England.
Yeah,
that would be the first thing they would jump on.
The first thing they jump on, they go, oh no, you don't want to. I don't buy. Some sound systems were saying, we don't play English record.
So, you know. I mean, now, this is like a history lesson for me, and it's like a trip down memory lane, because you talked about a sound system, which we're talking about Sufferer sound, right?
Yeah.
Which I used to follow as like a little kid in
Well,
retro.
Please, don't you make me feel old if you say that.
I make myself feel old. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, Sufferer's high five.
Yeah. And not only did you select for that sound, you made dubs for that sound.
That's right.
And
I was the DJ, I was the selector, I was... I was the front runner.
You was the sound. And like I used to, that time, as I said, I was a kid, and I used to look at you in awe, thinking, oh my gosh, there's the, you know, because I obviously I had an interest in selecting and music and sound systems, but at that time, being a little girl, it wasn't the done thing to go and stand up around the sound.
Well, that was how Louisa Mark, who I ended up making that record Caught You in a Lie with, she was similar to yourself, used to come and listen to the sound system down the Metro on a Friday night. And we used to give her the microphone sometimes.
I remember.
And say, sing.
Yes.
Right? And great singer. And one day, Lloydie Coxon came to me and said, look, he used to sign on his sound system with that song, Caught You in a Lie, when he was testing the amplifier and everything.
The original Caught You in a Lie.
Yes, the Robert Parker version. And he said, look, it'd be great to make a reggae version of this. And I was like, yeah, on it, straight. Who are you going to sing? Louisa, right, on it. And it broke the ice as far as records that being made in England being appreciated by the English audience in the sound system vein. Because the English kids, or West Indians, or we would say British, right? Because, I mean, they're all coming from Britain. Because I am a firm believer that outside of England, Britain existed when Britain ruled the waves, as it were, okay? And a lot of people came from not an emigrant place, but another part of Britain.
That's right.
They were relocating within Britain. So Britons that had just relocated...
Well, it was the mother country.
Absolutely. Britons who just relocated in London and were listening to reggae were awful special. They, you know, very choosy. Oh, we must have the latest thing from Jamaica. And they were feeding that, right? And so we thought, yeah, we must have the latest thing from Battersea, or the latest thing from Ladbroke Grove, you know, or the latest thing from Shepherd's Bush. And that was the way we kind of took it away from the focus from Jamaica. I mean, when we made songs like Silly Games with Janet Kay, we definitely taken it away then, you know. And then Matumbi, we were going up and down the country and playing at different places. I mean, we were playing from Wigan to, I don't know, Warsaw, yeah. I mean, down to
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth, yeah.
You name it.
The length and the breadth of the British Wales. I mean, Wales, we were in Wales, we played in Ireland, you know, and we were taking our brand of what we would call reggae and the lovers style.
Now, this approach was very, very, very successful, as we're still seeing the fruits of.
Absolutely.
I mean, Louisa Mark, even though she made one album, all right, she is, you know,
it's a
legend.
milestone.
Yeah,
That's right.
Marie Pierre also, Janet Kay, and did you? I'm picking up a female thing here, Dennis.
Yes.
Was it a deliberate?
Yes, because women were put in the back. I mean, and apart from your own dear sister and you know, Juliet Mowat and Marcia Griffiths, and they were the only women that were sort of holding the flag up, and women were very much in the backing vocal vein as opposed to the lead vocalist, you know. And I tried with another friend of mine, Dennis Harris, who dearly departed now, on the Lovers Rock label, and also with my great friend John Kapai, guitar player, to establish a kind of thing where there was female vocalists, you know, singing out in the front.
I mean, it has been said that you actually, between yourself, Dennis,
and John
Harris,
Kapai,
you created
the Lovers Rock thing.
The term Lovers Rock. You actually created
absolutely
the genre,
because we were looking for a label to put this new music with women singing on it, and dearly departed Augustus Pablo, had a song that was a real favorite of mine. It was called Lovers Rock. And we thought those two words just went together well. Lovers Rock, right? And you could picture the Cupid, you know, the heart with the arrow in it. And Dennis was like, yeah, that's it. And John was like, yeah, that's it. So the first song on the Lovers Rock label was I'm in love with the dreadlocks, brown sugar.
That's it, which I have, but it's so battered and scratched that I wouldn't dare put it on the turntable.
Well, we should try to reissue some of these.
I think so, because
we've been talking about it.
There seems to be a resurgence in people craving for voices again.
Well, it's history, so songs, they you know, they have to recap ever so often. Otherwise, they don't seem to know where they're going.
Now, as well as creating this new genre, having massive success with it, encouraging people to listen to females and listen to British-made music. You also was running, as you said, your own successful career. Now, at one point, you kind of seemed to be doing it all, actually.
Well, then after that, I went into doing some rock things with groups like the Slits and the Modettes and the Pop Group and even Bob Geldof, and at one time I found myself working with Marvin Gaye. And
you remixed some stuff for him, didn't you?
That's right. And I don't know, doing remixes for Bob Geldof's group Boomtown Rats, or being called in to do David Essex remixes.
Excuse me if I'm missing something here. I'm missing something here. I know I am. Janet Kay, Louisa Mark, Boomtown Rats.
Yeah, well, to see the
What's
thing...
missing in the middle? There must have been. I mean, what got you from that stage to that stage?
Well, at the time, before I started to play reggae, I used to be a keen Jimi Hendrix fan. Jimi Hendrix was, for me, the musician that I had all his records, I listened to everything. And I'd also been keen on groups like The Who and the Beatles,
Like
you know,
myself, yeah.
and the Rolling Stones, you know.
Well, that was the staple,
that's
wasn't
right.
it?
I mean, yeah, the Kinks, okay. So when I was asked to do some production for a group called The Slits, it was like three girls trying to trash out some of the punk era had started, you know, and I listened to their material and thought, yeah, I'll have a go at this. And then that sort of dragged me into other people, you know, that sort of heard about me. I mean, Thompson Twins, their first album, and, you know, groups like that just kept coming to me. Bob Fish from the Darts, I did a solo album with him, you know. People just kept coming with stuff. And if it was what I considered good, solid compositions and, you know, needed a bit of direction and I could help, yeah, I jumped in if I had the time.
What ears did you use to do this work? I mean, obviously you were firmly entrenched in the reggae sound,
Yeah.
so much so that you created your own kind of reggae sound, and then you kind of fast forward or move swiftly along to
Just
something
sideways, I think.
yeah, sideways, and you sort of bop and weave and then come up with the Slits, punk stuff, pop, rock. I mean, how did you have to separate the reggae side of yourself, or was it just all a part of what Dennis Bovell?
I just looked at it as the same way a chef might if he was asked to make, you know, a Welsh rabbit or a plate of chips, or, you know, it's like a different different taste, right? And as a musician and as a producer, you have to be cooking different
Dishes.
types of dish, different dishes. So because there's different listenership out there, right? And some people, you know, like rice and peas. Some people like plain rice, you know, or some people like hard food. So if you're able to, you know, cook all this and to where people are saying, yeah, that tastes good, you might as well cook it if you can.
Now, also, as well as doing your own stuff, creating all this music, you're also, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting this over to the listener, how important you are in terms of development of black music in this country, in terms of the development of reggae in this country, and in terms of the work you did outside of the artists here, because I mean, I travel the world. I was in Japan and they're saying, yeah, we've got to get Dennis Bovell to mix this, and we've got to get Dennis Bovell to engineer Sunsplash. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, he's sort of like doing it all.
Well, in 1980, Ruchi Sakamoto, who's the principal musician of a group called Yellow Magic Orchestra, came over with Don Letts, a friend of mine, and we met and decided that we should work together. And it was his first solo album after he left Yellow Magic Orchestra, and there's an album called B2 Unit, and he wanted to be the first person to use my studio that I was building for me. He wanted to use my studio before me.
The cheek of it.
So I said, all right then, Rue, because I like their music. And then that was my into Japan. In fact, just recently I just produced a group over there. I was over there with my great friend Linton Kwesi Johnson, and I just produced a group over there called Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra.
Fine.
Which is, you know, pretty heavy. I mean, I did a Japanese lovers album over there with a singer called Iria, you know, lovers rock in Japanese.
Okay, Japanese vocals and lovers rock.
Lovers rock style, yeah. In fact, I brought you a copy of it.
All right,
know.
we'll have to play. All right, what we'll do is we'll go to travel, because Pippa's waiting at Scotland Yard, and we'll come straight out of travel with Japanese lovers rock.
See you soon.
Go on in.
Okay, now, if you know the chorus, join in. Oh no, sorry, it's in Japanese. This is Dennis Bovell with a touch of his own personal madness. This is Iria.
That's right.
And it's an album called Japanese Lovers. And tell us again what you've actually done on this track.
Well, I went to Japan and met this lady, and she was the singer of a punk band in Japan in the 80s. And she'd gone into retirement and wanted to make a new album now. But she wanted to do it reggae with me. So I said, okay. And I brought her to London to be, with the musicians for about a month. And we selected some of her songs, and she wanted to do some of my songs as well. And she liked very much that Walk Away, Marie Pierre. And but she wanted to change the words to say something like Dancing in the Moonlight, but in Japanese. So I thought, okay, I'll never do it. As long as you don't change the melody. And that was what she came up with, so we recorded it.
It's wonderful. So that's only available in Japan, obviously.
Yeah.
But I suppose if you want it badly enough,
you could
give us
get
a
it.
call. Yeah, give us a call 01712242000. I'll give you all the details. It's called Japanese Lovers, and it's by an artist called Iria.
That's right.
Produced by Dennis Bovell. I love it. This is just a sort of slice of the things you do, because you're sort of like a crazy bee. From flower to flower, you're doing this, you're doing that, and
Nectar sipping.
dear, you see, he's a wordsmith as well. And you've got a new album. Now, you're very much into dub.
Yeah.
Dub are us when you think of Dennis Bovell.
Well, it was what I used to do a lot of before, because being with Matumbi, and that was a vocal outfit, and I didn't want to compete with the band because there were members of the band that thought, if you start making singing records, right, you're directly competing with yourself, and they were right. So I thought, well, the band doesn't make any dub, so I'll just make a few dub albums, just to keep my hand in, because I had lots of songs that we were all songwriters in the band, and we couldn't sing all the material that we were creating. So, I used to farm some material out to different artists, a song here, a song there. And then sometimes because I worked in a recording studio full of backing tracks and, effects, and perhaps go, have a
Don't play
drink
yourself
or two.
down.
And go,
You were a fine singer. I knew where this was going. No, I mean, you were an accomplished singer.
Well, I did have some success with my singing, yes, but I didn't want to be in competition
modest.
with my band, as it were.
But were you not the lead singer?
Well, no, I was not the lead singer.
It was a band of singers.
It was a band, yeah. There were three singers, right? There was Bevin and Glester, two brothers, and me, right? We did the majority of the singing, but I haven't said that Webster did singing as well. It was our keyboard player. And we thought that any vocal thing that we did, we had this sort of idea of like vocal harmonies. That was the Matumbi stamp, right? And if any one of us went and made records using that formula, it would be detracting a little bit from the band. So we decided not to do that, and so I became the dub master.
Okay. Apart from the reggae doo-wop and the Japanese stuff and the punk stuff, and you added dub master to this long, huge list of things that you do. And your latest album is an album called Dub of Ages.
Yeah.
Now, explain.
Well, Linton Kwesi Johnson and I decided that it was time for me to put out a new record. So I went through some stuff that I had that was previously unreleased, and I was playing it to him one night, and he goes, "You should put this out. You should put it." I said, "Okay, well, there you go. There's the tapes. Put it out." Because him and I have been for the last 20 years going around the world.
Because you are his dub band.
Yes.
You and
the rest of the band. Yeah, we are his dub band. Yeah.
Right.
And we decided that it would be best. His purpose would be best championed if he formed his own record label, and then he would know exactly where his records are going and where they were needed, and who, and all that. So he did.
LKJ.
LKJ, right. And we put out a few records there. And he asked me, what about some stuff from you? So, yeah, I put out a couple of albums. And we've got some more in the pipeline as well.
Okay. All dub stuff. So isn't there going to be a return to singing for Dennis Bovell?
Yes. In fact, not this album that's out now or the one after, but the one after that is called Sufferer.
You're so
that I'm
far
working.
ahead.
Well, you have to, because what happens is that you don't know when you're going to be in the studio, because we've been touring extensively. I mean, already this year we've touched on Japan, we've touched right through Europe, you know, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal.
You keep going.
Italy.
I mean, you revisit these countries on regular intervals. What keeps you fresh, and what keeps you wanting to do it?
Because every time we go there, we have a nice experience, and the people are nice and everything, and they call us back again the next year.
How do you know they're not calling you back for nostalgia's sake and saying, "Oh yeah, he's all right. He's good for a song or two. He can, you know, turn a tune."
We don't know, but then we're not really going for them. We're going for the audiences and how the audiences are reacting, and you know, and we notice that all the time, Linton's audiences have been getting younger and younger. So there's like some older people telling some younger people,
come along and listen to this.
Come and have a listen to this, you know. And it's, you know, very heartwarming. I mean, you know, we just finished touring America. We were there for 3 weeks.
That must have been interesting. How did they see you as some sort of loony British revolutionaries or something?
No, I think the more sensible contingent take note of what's being said, and you know, and cheer it on.
Okay.
In fact, it's quite funny to have been in some part of Northern California, right, where I'd never heard of that, you know, and there's people chanting along to Linton's poems and knowing every word, every song, and thinking, I better not make a mistake here, this bloke's going to know.
He's going to point me out.
He's going to point me out, oh, let's go like that. Yeah.
That's just like a simple question I'm going to ask you. How do you remember everything? That's a good point.
I don't really know. I think the Almighty allows me this power to remember these things, you know, because there is quite a lot to remember, and we practice. You know, we have rehearsals every 2 or 3 months.
So there's no chance of you playing the dub stuff for Linton and sort of breaking into Japanese punk?
No. When we're doing Linton's set, that's strictly serious business. You know, no messing there. Right? I mean, you know, we got important stuff to get across to the world. You know, and my man is very much. Sorry, I'll just switch that off.
Okay, I mean, you're very committed to your project with Linton, more so it seems than any other of the
this
project.
is because ever since I met Linton, I told myself, now there's a young man who's got his head on his shoulders and who's very serious about his work. It's not just some let's get drunk and smash the hotel room gig. It's not just some let's see how many girlfriends we can have all over the world gig. It's serious work. I mean, when you start talking about people's liberties, you know, and the way how the authorities handle the people, you know, and for instance, the alarming amount of black people that have, you know, died in police custody, etc. You know,
and Asians.
And the amount of suspected racist arson attacks on black people, you know, or the injustices to working people in general.
Well, this quite new phrase of institutionalized racism, which I find highly amusing, so interesting. I'll have to do a study into that one day.
Well, Linton's also got a new poem called New Word Order, right? Which he's talking about the language of like ethnic cleansing. You know, and how they've just glorified mass murder.
By calling it ethnic cleansing, what the hell does that mean? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's murder.
And work like that, I mean, cannot be ignored really. If you know, if you got any intelligence and someone comes to you and said, listen, this is what I'm working on, this is my project, right? And it struck me straight away and I think, will you help me? I think, of course I will. I'd be insulted if you didn't ask me. You know?
But there must be sort of like hundreds of people queuing up to collaborate with Dennis Bovell because of your impeccable track record and just your knowledge really in reggae and other music matters. How do you separate the wheat from the chaff? How do you say, well, no, I'm not going to work with him and I will work with her? And
I get everybody to send me a tape, and then when the tape's in, I listen to it, and if I've got time, and the time frame of what I'm going to do fits in with what they want me to do, and we see eye to eye, boom.
Okay. This new album now, it's totally dub, and I listened to the tracks, and they're different elements totally of dub. You've got some kind of rocky dubs, and you've got some real heavyweight dubs, and some dubs that don't sound like dubs at all.
Right. Well, you're talking about the Istanbul track there. Well, we went one time to Turkey, Linton and I, and to Istanbul, and I'd had previous knowledge of this instrument, this Turkish instrument called a saz, and it's got 9 strings, and it's a bit like a cross between a guitar, a ukulele, and a sitar. And once working in Germany with some Turkish people, I was working on a disco type thing for EMI, right? And they had this Turkish sort of orchestral section in this kind of hip-hop thing that I was doing. And the lead guy who was playing this saz instrument, he was nervous because he'd never done such a fusion before. And so
how many people have, though, in all honesty?
Right, so I went out into the studio, I said, give me that thing, right? I want you to, and I took it away from him and started, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just frapping it about in the kind of rhythm that I wanted him to do this thing in, right? And he said, can you play? I said, no, but it's got strings on it, and it's got frets on it. It's just similar to a guitar. You just got to mind where you're putting your fingers, right? And at the end of the session, he was so happy with that I'd guided him to get what the people wanted on the track that he made me a present of this instrument, right? So I went home and started playing it. And Dorcas Howe and Tariq Ali had this show on TV called The Bandung File.
Yes.
And they said, will you make us a theme tune for this program? So I thought, here comes that. And I pulled out this instrument. And I started to play, and I made up this little tune. With I've only used 20 seconds of it.
Yeah. And it made you a rich man.
Well.
But we'll talk about that another time.
Then later, I was going through these tapes, and I found the whole version of the song. Because I'd made a whole 3-minute song, right? And I'd forgotten which 20 seconds I'd snipped it out of it to do that. And I said, look, listen to this tune, right? And they were like, yeah, let's put it on there.
So that's called Grand Bazaar.
Grand Bazaar, because
Okay.
Grand Bazaar is the name of the big market in Istanbul, where I then went later and saw one of these instruments, took it off the wall and started playing it, and people were gathering around and going, we didn't know black people could play that. Lovers Rock tune on that.
He's bombarding me with CDs. Okay, we'll get to this one after the next travel, but I have to give my comments on this, don't I? Grand Bazaar, from your current album, Dub of Ages, Dennis
LKJ.
Bovell. On the LKJ label. Dennis Bovell, my special music guest on the Sunday Best. Thank you very much to the Mad Professor for calling in and giving us...
Easy, Ralph. I saw it. I keep seeing him all over the world.
It's a man like yourself,
Yeah.
sort of raking it in all over the world, but we are glad. We are glad. And that's actually...
Flying the flag.
That's it. Not only flying the flag, but also creating revenue, creating money that you can actually do things with.
Yeah. Like pay your taxes.
It helps, doesn't it? All right, so we do a travel thing again and come back with you singing
Yeah.
and some more of this weird and wonderful dub stuff.
Absolutely.
94.9 FM.
Got something to say. Question my emotion. I tell you that it's real. You know I got the notion, but you think I'm holding out. Yeah, you're in doubt. Well, let me reassure you, I really do adore you. You're the apple of my eye. Without your love, I couldn't get by without your love. And I wouldn't try without your love. Couldn't get by without you. I thought you knew I cared about our future and the love we share with one another. Seems you didn't understand the plan. Maybe I ought to give a clue to you, make you realize I want to specialize in you. Without your love, I can't get by without your love. No, I wouldn't try without your love. Get by without you.
Dennis Bovell, my special music guest on the Sunday Best this afternoon. Track called Yo Love, which was co-written with Marie Pierre.
That's right.
And that's you singing.
Yeah.
You sang
Because when once we finished writing it, she said to me, "Oh, do a vocal so I can, go and take it away and have a listen to it." And then I did it, and then she said, "You should leave it like that. It sounds all right." So yeah.
Okay, now, I mean, apart from the vocal stuff and everything, we've just played a track from the dub album, and while we were speaking during the travel, you were saying to me, Miss P, there's another cut of Grand Bazaar
Yeah.
from a completely different perspective. Now, come on, explain yourself.
Well, I went with Linton again to Brazil, went to Salvador Bahia
Okay.
to perform and take part in Carnival. We were there for 10 days, and I saw a lot of things, including this instrument called the berimbau, and it's the national instrument of Brazil, and it's got one string only, and it's like a bit of a bow, resembles a bow and arrow, and the box of it, what you would call the box, like the box of the violin or the box of the guitar, is made from a calabash.
Okay.
Right, and it's turned so that the hollow of it goes to your stomach, and then you pull it away from your stomach and hit the string, this one string, and move your hand along the string, right, to make different notes. And at the top of the string, there's some things that jingle like percussion instruments, So I thought, oh, wicked, and I tried it out. In fact, my son says I'm not to say wicked anymore. I must say righteous. That's the new lick now. It's not wicked no more.
It's
No,
not
wicked
wicked.
gone to hell. Righteous. So I thought, yeah, righteous. And I gave it a go. And Linton said, hey, stick that one on the album as well. Right? I was going, hey, yeah, okay, good. So we tucked it on at the end as a kind of a reprise to show the difference from I don't know, from Istanbul to Salvador Bahia.
Another weird and wonderful offering from Dub of Ages. It's actually the title track
Yeah.
from your current album. Sounds very Indian to me.
Well, it's Brazilian, but then in Brazil there's all kinds of people, right? I mean, you know, so Brazil is influenced by all
Africa,
the nations.
India, yes, yes.
Africa, India, China, you know, Europe right
everywhere,
round. Yeah,
yes.
and that's probably one of its sort of Indian origin inventions, you know. But
Indian throwbacks or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Now, I mean, it's a very unusual sound, to say
It's a
the
very
least.
unusual instrument, berimbau. I think only Brazilian people know that instrument.
And you, of course.
Well, yeah, now.
How long did it take you to learn to play that?
Well, as long as it took me to put 3 or 4 pints of Guinness into myself and have the courage to
So, yeah.
go, yeah, turn on the microphone, I'm ready now.
I love it. Dennis Bovell, my special music guest on the Sunday Best. Now, there's so much to talk about when, as I said, whenever I hear the name Dennis Bovell, so many things are conjured up. And film production is another string to your bow that we haven't even touched yet.
Yeah, I just completed
dear.
a
Is there
fe-
no
a feature
end to
film,
this man's talents? Good.
a feature film in Italy, and it's in the Italian language, so I had to spend 2 years learning Italian. And and it's just finished. It's cut, and I think it's ready for release in the Italian cinema. It's called South Side Story in Italy at the moment.
So, I mean, why go to Italy and do a film in Italian?
They came to me actually, because.
And they just said, we want you to make a film.
Well, I've been touring in Italy for about 10 or 12 years, nearly 15 years, Linton and I. Every year we've been the length and breadth of Italy doing shows, and so we've made lots of Italian friends, and our agent there said to me, listen, I'm going to make this movie, and I need you to be the musical director of it. So I said, yeah, okay. So I went down to Palermo in Sicily, and we wrote some songs, and together with a singer called Roberto Rondelli, who has a group called Ottavo Padiglione, and I produced about 3 of his albums since about 4.
In what style?
In Italian rock. It's rock,
Right,
Italian
okay.
rock music, you know, rock and Italian kind of dancehall kind of style, concert style of music, and pop, you know. And he's had some success there. He was signed to EMI and he's signed to BMG. And then he had the chance of being the star in this film. And he said to me, look, you got to come with me. I said, what can I do? He says, well, help me write the music. Right? Help me. So we did the music because it's a musical. And after we did the music, they were, sort of looking for actors and stuff, and they said
You didn't
well,
star
they
in it
didn't,
as well, did
well, I didn't star. I took the second male lead though, in it.
Fantastic.
Because they said to me, "Look, we can't find a voice that fits, say, because I had to sing in the studio just to demonstrate some of what the actor would have to do.
Like a guide.
Yeah, like a guide. And then they said, "Look, we can't find anyone to fit that part. Would you be willing to do a bit of acting?" So I was like, "Where's the camera?"
The way you do,
Well, yeah, it was a challenge too, and I always think of Italian as being a very colourful language. When they speak, right, sometimes you want to crack
Very
up.
pretty.
Yeah, very pretty, and the way they throw their hands about, the hands do a lot more of the talking.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to do that, and
Okay, so a Bajan singing in Italian in an Italian movie.
that's right.
Wonderful.
Sì, sto bene.
I mean, didn't you sort of say, hang on a minute, this is slightly off the track, this is slightly going away from what I want to do?
No, it was a challenge. It was a challenge to retain. It's always a challenge to learn your lines. I mean, when I was at school, I did drama, and I did about 4 or 5 school plays where I took the lead role, and I was actually going to become an actor rather than a musician. But when I went to the Old Vic with the drama group, I was the only black person there, and there weren't too many parts that a black person could play, and so I quickly became bored with it.
Okay.
But I had some drama training, right? And in fact, the director of the movie said to me, "You've done drama before, haven't you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, it'd be quite easy. All you got to do is learn Italian now."
Oh, fine, no problem.
So
you did?
Yeah. I did, enough to remember my lines. And it's always, as I was going to say, a problem to remember your lines, right? And don't fall apart and lose your cue or something. So you got to kind of like engross yourself in it. And I did. I watched a lot of TV in Italy and spoke to a lot of Italian people and tried to kind of conduct myself as though I was living in Italy.
And feel the Italian rhythm.
And feel the vibe, yeah.
Yeah, the rhythm of life, the Italian
That's right.
life. So, I mean, we've got the acting, the directing, the producing, creating music and doing all sorts of things. But when I have to go, because I'm wondering where all these things came from. How can one person be inspired to do so many things and do them all so well? So we have to go back to your childhood. So I'm turned therapist now, and I'm thinking, what kind of child could this man have been?
Well, I was a reasonably happy one. My father started life in England.
Hang on a minute, please. Wait. We've had another call from Mike, Fat Shadow Records. You see, we have all the industry people listening to this, right? Yeah, Mike.
Hi, Mike, how you doing?
And he told me something about you. What was you doing back in the 70s? You was at a party with Mike. The Slits and the Clash were at this party, and
Really?
you were wearing
A Batman suit. Oh no! Do you remember that? No, it was a fancy dress. It was a fancy dress. He's right. Oh, Mike, you rotter. Actually, I remember when I put that suit on. Right, I looked in the mirror. I thought,
no.
"You must be crazy." No, and I thought, "Well, I rented it for the night. I'm going to wear it." So I went. So I was the Black Batman.
I love it. Okay, I mean,
Telecom, and my mother's been always in the medical profession. She started off as a nurse, did midwifery, did mental, all the to the top of the profession. Yeah, then to where when she's teaching now, she's into research. So she's retired into research, and during this time at school, there was the school I went to is called Spencer Park, which is no longer there.
it's not there
It's
anymore.
right. It was across the road from Wandsworth Prison, but it's no longer there. In fact, on the site where the new building stood, there's a development, I don't know, new homes or something. And in the old building, they've developed that as restaurants, and that used to be called the Royal Victoria Patriotic Hospital. In fact, a friend of mine who was an estate agent one day said to me, "I've just sold the asylum on Trinity Road." I was going, "The asylum on Trinity Road?" I said, "Yeah." So I said, "Look, I went to school on Trinity Road, and the asylum's not on Trinity Road, but it's further down, Tooting Beck, right? The mental place." I said, No, the asylum opposite the road." "Oh, yeah, our school used to be called the Royal Victoria Patriotic Hospital. I wonder, my parents never told me, and I went to school." You know? Anyway, they built a recording studio there. It was meant for the English and the drama group to record plays and stuff, right? And I was fortunate enough to be the engineer of that studio.
In your school days?
In my school days, yeah. I was 14 years old.
Where did you get the training from? Did you just say, I'll do it?
No, what happened was, I'll tell you, it was a very strange story, that all the black children in the school were the manual labor for building this studio. When it came to operation time, there was not a black person inside. So I appointed myself spokesman for a contingent, went in to see the headmaster and said, "Look, I've noticed that there was a lot of us here when it was being built. Now it's being operated. There's none of us, here to learn from these skills. What's you doing? What's this?" And he said to me, "I admire your cheek. I think I'll let you in. But if you make one mistake in here, you'll be out." Right? And then I was able then to bring other people who weren't allowed. I mean, I knocked on the door one day, there's all these, young English kids there in white coats. And I was like, "What's going on here? The studio's finished, it's being operated. We built this and you're operating it now. We should have it." And and then gradually I'd, turned the studio off from recording Shakespeare and stuff to bringing my own band in there after school and doing a few. In fact, Marie Pierre dressed her up like a boy. It sneaked her in to cut to cut the first cut of Walkaway. And
You didn't do that.
we did. Stuck a cap on her head and a blazer.
Tell me it's a lie.
Oh, it was. That was the only way we could get a girl into the school. It was an old boys' school. So yeah. And
I admire your cheek.
What?
I do.
That's what the headmaster said to me. "I admire your cheek, Bovell. I think I'll let you stay."
So you commandeered this studio literally, and thought, all right, we're going to do some.
Yeah, we should have a go at it. We used to have a radio station in the school. It was called Radio RVP. So
RVP meaning
Royal Victoria Patriotic Hospital. Radio RVP.
Okay.
So I made up this little tune. Go, "You are listening to Radio RVP," with harmonies on it. He said, "Oh, very good. Can you make another one?"
Can you make one for me?
Yeah, certainly. No problem. And we used to have tutorials on the Tuesday morning where we'd have to make a half-an-hour program. So you'd hear, "And here comes the Rolling Stones with Satisfaction," but it'd be my band. And we'd be playing it instead of playing the real record.
So it'd be the dub band playing Satisfaction?
Well, the early members of the dub band, yeah, while we were at school. We used to take the instruments into the schoolkeeper was a great bloke, because the headmaster would never allow that. So after the school at 4 o'clock or something, we'd a friend of ours, his dad had just bought a new transit van to do with his work as a builder decorator, and he just passed his driving test. So he was like a sixth former, and we were like fourth and fifth formers, So he'd go to his house, get the equipment, and bring it to school. We'd use it. The schoolkeeper would go, "Right, come on, you lot, it's 5 o'clock, you've had an hour, get out of here." Right? And then we'd be gone.
I mean, your school day sounds like a hoot. Listen, it's 6 o'clock. All right, so if I don't go to the news, we'll be both out of here.
Right.
So we go to the news. I've got 5 copies of your album to give away and so much more to talk about.
All right.
Dennis Bovell, my
See you
special
soon.
guest. 6. Dennis Bovell and Lament from his current album Dub of Ages. And here's my special music guest. In fact, I refuse to let him go. The Sunday Best this afternoon on GLR 94.9 FM. Lovely ending there as well. I'm sorry, I just crashed that. Sorry.
No, that song is the song that the introduction for Linton to come on stage every night that we played, and so I thought I'd put it on this album because this another special feature of this album is that song is that that was the last song I recorded with the Tenure Brothers horn section, who left the band and went to join UB40. And that was the last kind of work we did together before they did that, went off on this, mega world trip.
Do I detect a note of bitterness here?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Fine.
We're still friends.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We still work together in the studio. And that,
okay. And speaking of friends, our Angie Greaves, who has a program here on Monday night, just called in.
Angie.
And she says she's really enjoying hearing you speak.
Let's say you better make sure that you can get my job like tomorrow morning. Yeah, okay. Hi, Angie.
For the rest of London, that was a touch of Bajan. You see, Angie, being a fellow Barbadian, is very proud of this. So they just kind of exchanging some words. I don't know what you said. What did
I think she should better get sure that she can wake up tomorrow morning. I hear she doing a breakfast, sure. I know. I reckon that's what I listen to your song, guy. Keep it up, babe.
Okay, Angie, I'm sure you understood all of that. All right, Sunday Best GLR 94.9 FM. So we've got Dennis Bovell, the singer, the actor. Do you dance?
Very badly.
Okay, good. I'm glad there's something you can't do. But in terms of what you've done in reggae and what you created, you also must have had, obviously you had such a love for reggae that you wanted to not emulate it necessarily.
But take it to a height.
But take it to a height. So which Jamaican artists were you following when I was following you, for instance?
I would say most of them. In fact, I had the pleasure of working with, first of all, Pat Kelly. I mean, for some time, Matumbi, my band, we were the backing band for Pat Kelly around England. Then we did the same thing with Johnny Clark in the days of Move Out to Babylon. When Johnny Clark did his first tour in England, we were the band, the musicians. And also Ken Booth, just before Everything I Own was a hit. We were touring around England with Ken Booth, as Ken Booth's band. So I-Roy, when I-Roy first came to this country, Derek Morgan, in fact. I mean, Matumbi, we played with a lot of Jamaican people that came over to London.
Is this true, or was this a rumour that Matumbi actually laid one or maybe possibly more Wailers tracks? Some of the stuff that they recorded here was actually laid by a group of musicians, and Matumbi being amongst this.
Yeah, we did have a collaboration there.
Okay. Name the track. Tell me.
I can't remember what one.
Was it Punky Reggae Party?
No, Aswad and Bob did that.
Okay.
We did a cut of Lick Samba.
Okay.
And there was a few others that they weren't actually titled at the time because the words weren't actually fully formed. Bob was still kind of going, I'm gonna. This is probably, but this is the just kind of. Just throwing, sounds around.
Now, I mean, it must have been sort of like refreshing to work with an artist like Bob Marley, who, like yourself, was so open to influences and open to other styles and other people's opinions.
Well, whilst he was making Exodus, we was down the studio every night. In fact, Sufferer's Sound was the first sound to preview all the cuts from Exodus.
I remember, in Metro.
That's right.
Yes, I was there.
It was around the corner, because he was in the studio around the corner.
Street.
That's right,
yeah.
And we were.
And I lived at number 15 Basin Street, across the road.
So we would go down there and get a tape. In fact, there was one time when I played the first cassette in a dance, right? The cassette had just been invented. It's like this new gadget called a cassette, right? They wrote a cassette player.
What were we using before? 8-track, wasn't it?
That's right. before the cassettes, it was an 8-track thing, right? And I played it in the dance. I was like, yeah. This is the new plate, you know what I mean? Dubwise style. We was chucking, all the tracks on the Exodus album. Even some of them had different names when they came out. But we had the whole selection. We were rubbing them on dub, and also some, you know, like Keith Hudson and people like that. I mean, also because I had like the sound system, it put me in touch with a lot of artists from Jamaica, because that was their radio station. That was how they were going to get over. So they were only too willing
Because of
to
course,
give me their material.
there was absolutely nothing resembling black radio
right.
programs. It was the sound
In
system.
fact, Smokey Joe with the old biscuit company broke the ice, you know, and then when Radio London was on...
What, our Smokey Joe?
Yes, our Smokey Joe.
You didn't tell me that, Smokey.
Yeah, Smokey did. The Biscuit Factory, I think it was called. And then, in fact, Smokey was going to be the first DJ before Steve Barnard.
Here, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yes, and when it was Radio London.
That's right. And yeah, and you know, we having the sound system and playing 7 nights a week in different clubs around up and down the country, you know, were the best radio for people like Dennis Brown, you know, rest his soul, or Burning Spear,
Gregory
Graduate,
Isaac.
yeah,
All of
Gregory,
them.
you know, all of them. So the producers that were making their music, like for instance, I was great friends with Bunny Lee. I mean, he you know, all the Cornell Campbell, or you know, all the stuff that they were making in Jamaica, they'd give it to us and go and play that, because you know, by playing it, that's the way that people would get to hear it. It'd be previewed,
promotion, yeah.
and the more noise we made about it, and the more different dub cuts, that each sound had a different version, and this guy had a different one. But yeah, but yours only sings the first verse, and I've got the second verse on here, you know, and I've got it all without the music, you know, all these kind of interesting competitions between sound systems, you know, boosting it up, bringing it to a height.
Now, do you think the sound system, to all intents and purposes, is dead? I mean, the sound system that
Not
you
at all.
knew.
Oh,
Okay.
that particular
sound
style
system
of
culture.
sound system may not be around anymore.
I mean, because you've got sound systems like Coxsone, who are still a sound system in the true sense, but possibly the only
Yeah.
sound system left.
Yeah.
So there's not many sounds not any sounds that he can compete with, really.
Yeah, well, they don't have the material that he has
No.
anyway. I mean,
And he's got all his equipment still.
that's right.
So is that nails in the coffin for sound systems?
No, well, I think it's a boost for Coxsone. He's got a freer run to just go around and go, I am the only sound system right now, you know, and chuck it hard.
Wonderful.
Because he's got some wicked rhythms. I mean, you know, in fact, that was another aspect of getting the British reggae across to the British public, was the fact that the great Sir Coxsone sound, who would not play English records, right? Because I remember the idea that when some time ago in a big competition with, there was him and Duke Reid, and there was Count Shelley and Neville the Enchanter. And I think some Denzel or someone said, Coxsone don't play English record, right? Because Count Shelley had played a song called Sweet Africa by Gene Rondo.
Which was made here.
Yeah, which was made here and which upset the dance. So their only comeback was, we don't play English record, right? You understand? I mean, Neville the Enchanter, again, when Matumbi made Chain Gang, and we did Beethoven's Fifth in reggae as well, right? We did that as exclusive for Neville the Enchanter. That wasn't intended to be released. It was just intended for him to play on his sound system, and we made lots of other things for different sound systems, but the public didn't know.
Didn't you start that off, that dub
That's
thing?
right, making dubs from home and stuff, right?
Yeah.
For other sound systems. And I mean, Coxsone was a friend of mine, you know, outside of the sound system world. In the sound system world, we were deadly enemies. In fact, we never met, because he said to me once, look, I've spent years building my name as Sir Coxsone, right? You're a little upstart, you've just come, right? So you're the flavour of I'm not going to gamble my name with you in a dance for what, £1,000? No, it's better if we don't meet. Because there was people outside speculating, if Sufferer meets Coxsone, what's going to happen? You know? And then they didn't know that behind it all, Coxsone and me would you know, collaborating together, making records in the studio. I mean, yeah, we're making dubs together, you know, I mean, and then the first release of our efforts was that Louisa Mark, Caught You in a Lie. I mean, the same thing with Castro Brown, my great friend, with 15, 16, 17, Black Skin Boy. And
what a
stuff
success he had.
Yeah.
With those sounds. I mean, they were
Absolutely.
so authentic.
There you go.
I mean, and sort of spearheaded that whole British lovers rock sound, and then Dennis Brown started to record over here.
That's right.
And it all got very fashionable, didn't it?
Yeah, it all got fashionable to sound English. To go, oi, mate.
Yeah. So, right. So when Coxsone sort of put his foot down, and Coxsone doesn't play English tunes and everything, and then
Later on, and he's playing the tune that I made, right? I'm like, yeah, he doesn't. But then the people didn't know because Coxsone was playing it. Nobody would. It could not be prejudiced in that way. See, they couldn't prejudice it and say, "Oh, that was made in England." When I listened to that, right? You know, Coxsone was playing it, so yeah, must have come from Yard.
Well, that's what we thought.
You know.
That's what.
And then she's come from Shepherd's Bush.
That was the beauty of it all, because we
and I come from Battersea.
Well, we was thinking, where we used to go to this club called the Crypt, which was in, as it sounds, in the crypt of a church. So it was in the basement, underneath in the basement of this church, and it was like this the youth club of the
Tales
time.
of Dubwise.
Right, Tales of Dubwise in the Crypt. And we used to go in the crypt, and we heard this Louisa Mark, Caught You in a Lie, and we were ecstatic, because this is a woman singing, a young woman singing, a young girl singing, but we thought she was Jamaican. So like there was some Chinese whispers going around the youth fraternity. No, look, she lives in Shepherd's Bush, kind of thing. We're going, no, yeah, she lives in Shepherd's Bush. She's only 14, and we're going, get away. Yep. And so for the first time, we were able to identify with a culture, a music culture, which before we didn't have. We just didn't have it here in the UK.
And then it made other people think, yeah, someone's done it. We must be able to do it at all. And then it was lovely. And by the time it got to 77, everyone had a band. Everyone was in the group. Everyone was, cutting records. But
you're still kind of reticent about sort of taking your true and full honour for the work you have done in this country with regards to establishing the UK strand of reggae and actually creating lovers rock along with others, obviously.
Tonka Pie.
Yes, and Dennis Harris and others. But you're very kind of laid back about this all, and sometimes I wonder, you obviously must know the gravity of what you did and the effects it's still having now, and people like the Mad Professor coming up after you, and other English labels and other studios, Mafia and Fluxy, all of these are coming off the strength that you started way back in the 70s.
Yeah, 72.
Yeah.
72 we decided to do that.
When I was just 2 years old.
Oh, that's great. It's great that we came up with something to give the youth and the young here an identity and a sense of we can do it. You know, because before then it was like, no, man, I'll have to go to New York to do some funk or rap or something, or go to Jamaica and cut some tracks down there. You know, because there was nobody in this part of the world who was at the engineering end of it sufficiently proficient, right, to get those sounds, right? That was one thing, because the engineers were afraid of, certain frequencies, and they were very, very clinical, the engineers, and very, very, old school, and wouldn't, select certain frequencies because now it sounds distorted or something. In fact, I've had many a run-in with engineers in this country where I've turned around and said, please, move away aside a minute, let me show you what I'm looking for, and do it, and they go, oh, all right then. And they, I've had people, when I've gone away, write down
what you've done.
Write down my equalizations, because they think, oh, we didn't know that you could
stretch it to that limit.
Yes, absolutely. And it was like, in the old days when people were going, the world is square, and nobody would dare get in a boat and sail anywhere. It's like, no, you're going to fall off the end of the world. I was going, oh yeah, well, let me fall off. I might fall into a different dimension that I'm going to like. Hear this, Dubwise, ram. Bust up the speaker, repair that.
Oh, it was you, was it, doing that to my speakers in the 70s?
Oh yeah, bust up speaker. I mean, I remember one time it was cutting.
Hang on. Before you go there, I'm not cutting you. Points of View, one of my favourites. Let's go to travel, because Pippa's waiting, and we're back with some more tracks from your dub album, and we're going to give away 5.
symphony. In the key of green. Then they wrote and dawned on me. Interrupting my dream. So now I lay and wait for you to come to me. Just like you did before. 'Cause I sure do appreciate your company. Baby, I want you by my side forevermore. To whisper sweet love in my ear. Yeah, hug and squeeze me tight. While I run my fingers through your hair. Oh baby, please be my dream tonight. Dream,
It's that man singing again, Dennis Bovell and Dreams from an album called Audio Active. Dennis Bovell and the Dub Band. And Dennis Bovell is my special guest this afternoon on the Sunday Best.
Yo, in the house.
In the house. All right, now I keep on saying I'm going to give away 5 copies of your current album. So let's do that before we push on, because you know, every time I close the mic, you sort of hand me a slew of CDs and say, and did you know I did this, and I had Sly and Robbie in Paris, and there's so many things he's telling me. So we'll give away the 5 copies of the album. The new album is called Dub of Ages, and we're looking for 5 winners. All right, so 5 people. Give us a call 0171 224 2000 and tell me the name of Dennis Bovell's first band. All right, the band he made the world light up with. 0171 224 2000. You know the band. Yeah, that one. Name Dennis Bovell's band. Not the band he's with now, not the Dub Band, but the previous band. First 5 through with the right answer each received a signed copy of Dub of Ages. Now, Dennis, you said you were in... first of all, no, you're going to be appearing on Thursday.
That's right.
The 18th.
Royal Festival Hall.
Hold on 1 second. I've got to close my mic and give Brian the answer. 1 second. Watch this space. Okay. 5. All right. So you're going to be playing on the 18th alongside Dennis. Sorry,
No,
alongside
Linton.
Linton. Sorry. What's that all about?
Well, it's a benefit in association with the Roger Sylvester Fund. About Roger Sylvester had was the man who died in police custody recently, and also it's a chance for us to play one last gig of the 20th century.
Okay.
So
this will be your swan song out of the old millennium.
Yeah,
as it
because we
were.
worked so hard this year already. I mean, Linton's probably going to do a few more gigs just reading poetry, but the band, because we worked quite a lot, so this is going to be the final for the century till next year. And we thought it was a fitting place to kind of do it together, because we've had lots of fun in the Queen Elizabeth Hall, and now we're going to the Royal Festival Hall. And it promises to be, a spanking night. So be there or be nowhere.
Now, what type of music, apart from the dub stuff? I know with Linton, you do vary.
Well, it's poetry with music.
Okay.
It's first of all Linton's poetry, with some music dotted about in it.
Not just reggae though.
No. It's all kind of music. I mean, in the band we have violin, we have saxophone, we have horn section, bit of electronic. I mean, there's like kind of blues style guitar. I mean, and then there's the ordinary hardcore reggae style. But we top it up quite often with like jazz flavorings or blues flavorings or, you know, rock and roll flavorings. I mean, there's even one song where there's actually a piece of hard rock in there.
No,
yes.
not you, Dennis.
Yes, I mean, it's very good fun, you know, especially when you do that and you're somewhere like Stockholm or somewhere, you see them rocking
They
out.
love it, don't they? They say hallelujah.
You know, it lets them know that you're not square.
Yes. I mean, we would have had tickets to give away for this gig, but I deliberately didn't ask your promotion company for any because it is a benefit gig.
That's right.
And I think, you know, that Linton Kwesi Johnson and Dennis Bovell and the Dub Band are just worth paying to go and see. And I'm not patronising, I really mean it. So I didn't even go for the ticket angle. The albums, yeah, we squeeze you for 5 albums, no problem. But I think for the gig, we'll just say, you know, go along. Royal Festival Hall.
Please come and give us your support.
Yeah, the 18th of this month.
That's right, it's on this Thursday.
Okay, and tickets are 12, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, cheap at the price, whatever it is.
Good cause.
Okay, now, Royal Festival Hall, last gig for the Millennium. What is going to be your first Millennium project?
Probably myself. I've been working on a project of my own, a singing album, my next singing venture. And I've got some singing songs, I think, and I've been collecting them over about the last 8 years. Because every time I got into the studio and said, right, I'm going to, you know, further this project, something interesting comes along, you know, or like Linton goes, hey, I've got to make a new album now, quick, right? Stop that. Let's go. Let's go and do my album, right? Or John, the guitar player, says, look, I want to do an album. Or Linton says, why don't you do an album with Steve, the saxophone player? And I go, yeah, great, you know, because I'm quite easily sidetracked by other members of my band because I like to realise, you
other
know,
people's dreams.
And so I've been doing that, and now I've told myself, right, after the 18th of November, I'm going to concentrate on getting this material together and finish it.
But how long is that going to last, Dennis?
No, I'm definitely going to do it and try and get it done by the end of December.
You know, I interviewed Marcia Griffiths maybe 2-3 years ago now. Obviously, I know her very well. But
Right.
we did this interview on a very professional basis. And I said to her, you know, Marcia Griffiths, you know, a female reggae icon, you know, throughout the history of reggae practically.
Absolutely.
You know, she has spanned the whole of...
And it's still there.
And it's still there going strong. And I said, you know, but there was a huge chunk in the middle of your career where you were not operating as Marcia Griffiths at all, and your name would just appear in small print on
Bob Marley albums.
On Bob Marley albums. What was the deal? And she said, you know, Miss P, we all made a conscious effort to actually...
To further the cause.
To further Bob Marley's cause and sacrifice. And I said, well, that meant sacrificing your own career. And she said, well, yes. And we felt no way about it at all. And up until now, I hadn't met anyone who had struck me as having that amount of commitment in someone else's work until I met you today. Well, I've known you for years, but I mean, until speaking to you today, and I've realised, well, actually, he's had his own career on hold because he believes so much in what Linton's doing.
Absolutely.
And with no regret whatsoever.
None.
You could have been a contender. You could have been a big star.
No, what's the point? He's got a lot of things to say. He's saying it all, you know, and I'm just glad that he wants me to be a part of it. You know, he could have had anyone could have said, "Come and help me," you know. So he said to me, "Come and help me," and I said, "All right, I will." And we've become great friends, and we've, you know, done some good work, I think.
I think the reggae is built with people like you. I mean, it's just so refreshing. But I'm going to round up kind of like, it's going to take us about 10 minutes to round up, I reckon. But we're going to round up in a sort of rounding up sort of way. The competition winners are Fraser in Tunbridge Wells, Veronica in Luton, John in Forest Hill, Claire in Rochester, and Wesley in Thornton Heath. You want to sign all their names on those albums?
Signed, sealed, and you're going to deliver.
Of course, wonderful. And I'm going to look out for your Millennium project.
Yeah, it's going to be called Sufferer.
Sufferer.
Yeah.
After the sound system.
That's right.
So
I've gone towards my sound system days when there was beautiful songs being played on sound systems, not just some rough ragamuffin thing. That's okay, but you listen to it in the dance, but you wouldn't want to take it home. You wouldn't want to wake up on a Sunday morning and start and put it on whilst you're sort of recovering from Saturday night, right? And, you know, I thought, yeah, there's a hole there for beautiful melodies and meaningful songs. So I sort of went back through my catalogue and said, oh, yeah, I remember that song I wrote now. Oh, yeah, that one. And then got the band together. Also, there's a lot too much of people just working with machines. And
So you're bringing back the live sound.
the live band sound, yeah.
So all that stuff, obviously, because it was pre-computer, but all that stuff, Matumbi and that was
Yeah,
that fact. Where did you get
that's
that?
manpower.
Okay.
Manpower, you know, machines. Sorry, you guys may be accurate and you can make people who can't really do it seem as though they're doing it right, but the best thing is to actually have that skill and to play with other people who have that skill, right? You know, I mean, when when we play, people just, you can see it in people's eyes in the way they leap up and down, and you know, and the crescendos, you know, the highs and the lows, right? You know, the dynamics of it all. That takes a long time to programming machines. Machines are just straightforward. Flat boy shim, you know.
No pun intended, honestly.
Flat boy.
But I mean, what I'm going to do is, because I've got loads of stuff of yours that I haven't even played yet here in front of me. So I'm going to do like just a little montage.
Right.
Yeah, because two of them are actually things that you didn't sing, and one of them is Winston France. You produced them.
Right.
You didn't sing them. So the first track I'm going to play is... You didn't do it. This is
John Kapai is the man who made me become a full-time bass player. I was a guitar player in Matumbi and played guitar in sessions, played bass on sessions, and did a lot of work with John since, I don't know, 1975. In fact, Dennis Harris brought him to me one day and said, Dennis, you should play bass because I know a guitar player who's way better than you. And I was like, oh yeah, bring him. And he brought him, and it was this man.
And he
right?
was
And
way better.
immediately I said to him, what about if we formed a band together? You know, and you play guitar and I play bass. And so I switched.
Okay, so this is
John
not
Kapai.
it's not his debut album.
For LKJ, yes.
Okay.
John Kapai.
And that's all that matters. This is the title track from Red, Gold and Blues. And I'm gonna play you 2 or 3 tracks that Dennis Bovell has had his hand in somewhere, starting with this Red, Gold and Blues.
So baby, don't you fight. Oh, get your little self uptight, you know. Oh, 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 baby, after tonight, I'm gonna make it alright. Baby, after tonight, I'm gonna hold you so tight. Come alive, oh take a dive. Won't you swim to me a little bit closer? 'Cause I can read just what you need. And it's you, oh baby, you I'm looking after.
Absolutely mad. This
Yeah.
is dub.
Yes, this
This is you on space, in space or something.
Well, I bought a 6-channel mixer, and instead of having all this, big 24-track, 48-track, and all that, I just, got fed up with it, and I got this 6-channel mixer, and I did this at home.
In your bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm going to reserve judgment on this one. I think I'll have to be sort of like
A dub head.
or something. No offense to any dub heads.
No.
3 tracks you
Some of
heard
my
just
best friends are dub heads.
Mine too. Red, Gold and Blues, John Kapai, a title track from the album of the same name, available on the LKJ label. After Tonight, Winston Francis, and that comes from an album called King Cool, which did really big in France.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did some work with the great Winston Francis, and it took off in France. But he didn't use his name Winston Francis. He used the name King Cool.
Wow.
And he was King Cool.
He
And
mashed it up.
Yeah, we brought over Mint Juleps from Southeast London.
Another
great
blast
singers.
from the past.
Oh, great singers. Did do the backing vocals, and I brought Sly and Robbie from Jamaica as well to do the drum and bass tracks, and Bobla was there.
He still is around.
Absolutely, you know
Working
that.
so hard. And this, Yard, from your own album, your own current album, Dub of Ages.
Right.
Dennis Bovell, I mean, I hardly want to let you go.
Okay.
But I have to.
All right.
But I mean, I'm going to make my very best effort to come down to the Royal Festival Hall
Please do.
on the 18th to
Please
see
do.
Linda Kwesi Johnson and yourself and the rest of the dub band.
All is welcome.
And we have to be in touch because there's so much I need to talk to you about.
Okay.
So Dennis Bovell, my special music guest today on the Sunday Best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss B.
GLR 94.9 with 2020 travel from Scotland Yard. Long delays continue on the M11 following an accident at the Newport Gates just to the north of Junction 8. It's on the southbound carriageway. Severe delays for traffic heading down between Junction 9, the A11 and Junction 8 at Bishop's Stortford, in excess of 2 miles of tailbacks there. So probably worth avoiding and leaving the M11 if you can at Junction 9. M1, just a temporary glitch as you join the contraflow at Junction 2. It's 2 lanes northbound and 2 lanes southbound on southbound carriageway only, so some delay as you come off the A1, but once you're on to the motorway, everything does pick up speed and it doesn't look too bad. What also is not too bad is the M4 Heathrow Spur now, after earlier southbound tailbacks along the Heathrow Spur for traffic heading down towards the airport. That is looking relatively clear now. Into central London, the roadworks on Piccadilly slowing up the traffic in both directions between Hyde Park Corner and Piccadilly Circus. Euston Underpass also heavy in both directions, slightly worse if you're heading eastbound onto the Euston Road, and Victoria Street looking heavy westbound down to Victoria one-way system through the roadworks there. And the Edgware Road southbound is starting to look heavy now from underneath the Marylebone flyover down towards Marble Arch, and then you join a queue trying to get southbound down a Park Lane. Brixton Road still a little bit slow, both north and southbound, and watch out for Sutton, where Beddington Lane is closed. You'll find diversions in place, but delaying traffic if you're heading between the A232 Croydon Road and the Mitcham Common area. A40 eastbound into Gypsy Corner, still looking busy, and the A4 busy in both directions at the Hogarth roundabout, and then coming into London, pretty slow over the Hammersmith flyover into the Talgarth Road, with the Earls Court Road into the one-way system southbound also looking full, and Fulham Palace Road still looking pretty heavy coming down from Hammersmith through the Lily Road junction down towards Putney, and Finchley Road still pretty busy northbound from the Swiss Cottage one-way system up towards the Frognall area. On the underground, buses replaced trains this evening on the Victoria line for services between Victoria and Brixton. GLR 94.9, the next update at 7:20.
Some people act like they are still in chains, when there's so much in life to live for and to be thankful for. You should have sing glory now, sing glory, glory now, sing glory now, sing glory. Oh, praises be for the sun and the moon. We thank you for your on the rise. Don't be discouraged, be strong, my friend. You're bound to win your big prize. Come, my little sister, please, my little sister, bear out with your man. It's not every day the sea's gonna be rough. The sun is bound to come. Now sing glory now. You're bound to win your big prize. Come, my little sister, please, my little sister, bear out with your man. It's not every day the sea's gonna be rough. The sun is bound to come. Now sing glory now, sing glory, sing glory now, sing glory.
Sunday best, GLR 94.9 FM, Mr. Rankin, Miss P. Norman the Cabbie loved the track I played from the John Kapai album, Red, Gold and Blues. Norman, I played the title track, and we've had so many phone calls from people calling in regarding the interview with Dennis Bovell this afternoon, how much they enjoyed it, how many memories it brought back to them. And one of those people was Richard in Peckham, who literally had tears in his eyes. Look, thanks to everyone for your call, and you know, the most thanks obviously to the man himself, Dennis Bovell, who's in the studio actually signing